Hey everybody, Sean here with Fist Bump Media. Back with you again. I just wanted to come back and we're going to touch on a few more things with this Gutenberg editor that we didn't get to go over in the last video. Things that'll maybe hopefully help you with your blog posts and how to use the different blocks and things like that. We didn't discuss all the different elements in the editor because I just wanted to get you guys up and running and a quick overview on how it works. So today we'll dive a little deeper. We'll build a blog post out. Bear with me, I'm not the greatest blog post writer, so we'll do the best we can. But I did get some questions from you guys. I'm going to try and touch on those things and so that we can get those questions answered. And if anybody else has the same question, it'll be covered. And then we'll go over a few other things as far as just all the different blocks in the editor, what they each do, each one of them does, and go from there. So I'm not going to maybe do an example of all of them, but we'll see. So at the top, each blog post obviously is going to have a title. So that's where your title goes. That just automatically, you can't delete that. That has to be there. Below that, I already added a block. I just added a list block because these are all the things, different questions I've gotten from you guys about how to do this or that on the Gutenberg editor, and people that weren't sure how to do it. So I'm going to go over those as we build out this post. So the first thing I want to do to build out our post is I'm just going to grab a little bit of text just to throw in there so it'll make it look better. All right. And we'll notice whenever we paste this stuff in here. So our default, well, actually this one's already a list. So we'll change that to a paragraph. So when I paste it in here, what's interesting is that it makes each paragraph its own block automatically. And if any of you have gone back and edited your old posts, you'll notice that this isn't going to be in this format. Each paragraph will actually be in one big block. All the paragraphs will be in one big block in a classic editor. And we'll touch a little bit more on that in a minute. Anyways, so we got some text in here. So some people had questions about images, how to link images, how to add images inline, things like that. So what we'll do is we got two paragraphs here. I got one up top, one on the bottom. If I wanted to add an image, say at the end of this paragraph, all I have to do is go in here, click on image. I added a few to my library just to make this easier. And we'll select that one right there. So we have a few options with these images. One we can do is keep it just centered between the two paragraphs. I can justify it over to one side. Obviously that doesn't look so good, but if I make my image smaller, there we go. So the text will wrap right around the image from the paragraph below it. The one above it won't wrap. It'll just be the one below it. So if you wanted to figure out, somewhere to put an image and you wanted it wrapped like that, you can do that. So that's how we would add an image, and we can wrap the text around it. If we wanted to go back and we just wanted to center it again, we can do that. We can adjust the size. Obviously, we can put it off to the left side, have the text over on that side. You can also make it a full width image, so it'll be the whole width of your screen. And that works well for big images, things like that. You can make it a little bit bigger if you don't want any text wrapping around it. If it's a smaller image and it's like this, it still won't wrap it. It'll just make it gives you a couple different sizes. And then you can just adjust it with these blue handles. So that's how you add a image. If you wanted to make this image clickable, where you could send it, link it into something, as far as if you wanted to, click on it and you could go to a different website. We'll go down here. So if we make sure we're clicked on it, because if we're up here, it gives us different settings. Whatever block we're clicked on, it'll give us different settings. So make sure we're clicked on the image. And I believe it'll work. It doesn't matter where we have the image at. So as long as we have these little blue handles around our image, we can go over here to the right-hand side in this block editor. Here we can add our alt text if you want, if you didn't do that when you uploaded the image. Image size, you can, if you're making it small like this, make it a medium image. That makes it a little bit less information that your website has to download when they open up this blog post, so they don't have to download a huge image. They can get a much smaller one at 300 by 200. You can give different dimensions here as well if you wanted it even smaller. But so that would be how you can adjust that. But anyways, back to, if we wanted to do a link, we can just go to custom URL, and then we go down here and we just type in HTTPS, and you copy and paste your link in there. And that'll work, and that's all you gotta do. And so then that will save your link. You can click this little tab right here. That way when they click on it, they won't leave your website. They'll go to just the other website, and yours will stay open in a different tab. And you can add your caption down below it, just like that. That's how we add an image or move it around and adjust the size. Things we can do with that, adding links to it, and wrapping the text around the image. So I hope that answers everybody's questions with that. Now, what I'd like to add in there is, or someone was asking, how do they change the text? So that was one that I had to look it up, and so far I haven't found a lot of great options beyond the simple stuff that's available within the Gutenberg editor. Obviously, you can change the text here with your, making it bold, and italic. You can cross stuff out. Those are easy. You can add a link, so that's kind of similar to what we did over there. If we wanted to make the beginning of our text go to a certain link, we just highlight it, click what link we want it to go to, type in our link, and then we can go over here also, make sure you do that, and you can hit open in new tab as well. And then that will add a link to that text. Actually, it didn't do it because there's one more step that I forgot to do. I'll show you. If I can get it highlighted again. All right, so our link's not there, obviously. Click on this, open a new tab, and then we have to hit that little enter button, and then it makes the link. And then we can adjust that later. If we forgot to hit the open tab, you just click on it and adjust it. So that's how you can change that. If you want to change the size of a text, you can highlight it, and I believe, well, actually, this might just change it all. You can change all the text to large or small or normal. It doesn't give you specific sizes, which is kind of unfortunate, and you can't adjust a certain sentence or word to a different height, at least not through this paragraph editor. There are ways to do that still. I'll kind of go over that in a minute when we go over the classic editor. And then the drop cap thing for the paragraph. So you can add a drop cap to the beginning of your paragraph if you want that at the start of a blog post. So that's how we can kind of edit some of the text in this. Now, if we want to change the font, that was where I kind of ran into trouble with this Gutenberg editor. It doesn't give you, well, in reality, the classic editor does not give you the option to change your font either. A lot of people had a plugin called Tiny MCE that would allow them to change the font within their text editor. I haven't found one that does quite the same thing in this one, but there is an option, at least if you want to change your font on your blog post. So the Gutenberg editor, it typically just uses the same font for everything. It's based on your theme, or it uses I forget the name of it. There's a specific font that it uses. But what we can do is, I'll show you the plugin. So if we go over here, let's just hit update. I actually published this, but it's on a test website. So if we go to our installed plugins, I'll show you the one that I got that kind of gives us an option to change our font. And it's called Simple Google Fonts right here. I think you can search for Simple Google Fonts or Simple Gutenberg Google Fonts is what actually comes up for when you go to search for it. So once we get that installed and activated, we can go back into our post. And once in our post, we can hit this little A up here in the top right, simple Google fonts. We see that. And here we can change what we want the fonts to be. So for our headings, we can change the, what do we want, our H1 or H2 or H4, all those different headings. We can change the font, we can change the font weight, line height, letter spacing, word spacing. And then for our body fonts, we can do essentially the same thing. So that gives you a little more functionality. I'm not sure what making it global will do if you have other themes that may interact with it, so I wouldn't mess with that necessarily. Just depending on what theme you have. You could try it if it, just know that it may change the font on your other pages as well, which isn't always a bad thing. So that's how we can kind of change the fonts within the Gutenberg editor. Again, not ideal if you ask me, but it works. I imagine as this grows, as the Gutenberg editor gets older and gets more functionality, either WordPress will add it in, or more likely there'll be a better plugin that will maybe add a button up here to change the font within each paragraph. So we'll see if that happens. I'm not sure, but for now, that's how we can do it. Another option, let's see where we're at here on our list. So changing text, so classic editor, that's a good segue here. So we can go into the classic editor. And say we just wanted to add another thing here. We just go here. So we got classic editor right there. It just says classic. This is going to open up an editor that looks probably very familiar to a lot of you guys. Just the exact same editor as what we used to have before this update. With that, if you had that tiny MCE plugin installed, you would have the functionality right here to change your fonts to whatever you wanted within this. You can use that on here. It works fine. It'll show up just like a paragraph. So if you prefer that and you want to change your fonts, that's an easy way to do it as well. But another thing I wanted to kind of touch on with the classic editor, I don't think I wrote it in my post up there, but some of the plugins that maybe you use right now, I know had one person that used this easy recipe plugin. They couldn't figure out how to get the easy recipe and add it onto their blog post. And so the classic editor still allows you to do that. This is just something that the people that made that plugin, they're going to have to update to get a block made for their plugin. And they may eventually do that. It just depends on whether or not they still support the plugin or not. But for now, this will still work. You can add your easy recipe plugin just by clicking that. So, and then there's other ones, social warfare buttons. This one, you can do it this way. You also, just if you have social warfare, just know that you can go down here and they, just like easy recipe may eventually, they may just add their own little tab here, and then you can add a block in with the social warfare thing right there. So that's one way that they've already updated theirs, so you don't have to do it this way anymore. But some of them may be still like that. So if you're looking for something on the old one that's not on the new one, this may be a place to look. All right. So that's the classic editor. It's a useful tool for certain things, especially right now while we're transitioning. Things will get better and better, but for now, it's not everything works as expected with especially with third-party plugins. So, inline images, linked images, adding images, changing text. We did classic editor, rows and columns. So one of the neat things you can do with this new editor is rows and columns. We can add in. Well, actually, before we go over that, I'm just going to go over all these different things. So paragraph, we kind of already did that. This is a paragraph right here. Just a simple paragraph, not a lot to it. The list, that's what I have at the top of the page. Right there. You can change, well, here, I'll show you a list. So with the list, the only thing you might want to know about it is that you can change it to numbers. You can do the dots. If you click on one and you want it indented a little bit, you can just do that, send it back out. Obviously, you can bold, you can italicize, link one of your list items if you want to. And then this little button over here, Just allows you to duplicate that exact same one, insert another block either before or after, or edit it in HTML. So if you add some HTML you needed to add in there. And this is going to be basically the same for all the blocks. There's not going to be much changed in this area between different blocks. Another thing you can do a lot of times with the blocks is you can change the type. So if you started it out as a list and you're like, no, actually that works better as maybe, I don't know why it would work as a quote, but it might, or you just want it as a paragraph. You just hit that and it switches it right to a paragraph instead of a list. You can see how it actually made a separate block for each one, which is maybe not ideal. So what we can do is just hit undo, and that brings us back to here. And then you can switch it to a quote also. So that's an option for all these. If you got a paragraph, you can switch it to a few different things. A heading, a text, or a quote, a verse, pre-formatted. We'll kind of talk about these. Quotes and verses are similar, obviously different uses. Pre-formatted, that is going to kind of make a kind of, you're adding code to your blog and you wanted to copy and paste the code without it showing like an image or something like that, you can hit this pre-formatted one and it'll just copy exactly the text you put in there without, trying to guess what you really wanted. So that's useful for people that are sharing code on their blogs. All right. So, so we're going to go through all these different items under the common blocks. So we did the list. Image we did earlier. Quote. So quote we can do. Basically, you do this is my quote, and then you can add your citation. And there you go. There's your quote. Obviously, you can always look over here for styling. You can make it larger. You can make it regular. Not a ton of options for that. And then, since we talked about it a minute ago, we can change it to a few different things. This one, you can change it to a pull quote. So a pull quote, the intended use for that is that you would use maybe, this awesome sentence that you wrote up here that was in your article, and you wanted to copy that out and pull it and make it a little bigger for your readers to say, hey, check out, what someone said or what I wrote. This is a key point in your article. So that's a pull quote. You can kind of you can convert it to that. Just depends on what you're looking for. Or if you want to go back to a regular quote, you can switch it back. All right. And this one up here, this is just most used. So these are going to change as I use them. You can see the pull quote popped in there. Common blocks, we'll go back there. And heading, so we can add a heading. And you got your H2, H3, H4. Your H1 is always going to be this guy up here. Can't really change that. But you got subheadings and other headings down here if you have a second section or whatever. Then you can add your heading there. You can bold, italicize. You can switch the alignment to the center or to the left if you use this little area over here on the right hand side. All right, and then we go back in here. We'll go back to common blocks and cover image. I think we did that at the top. No, we didn't. Okay, we will. Let's go up here to the top. So if we wanted to add a cover image to our blog post, we just go to, well, here it is. It's under most used right now, but it basically adds an image to the top. The neat thing about it is, use that one, that works good. You can add a little title in the middle of it. And you can even link the title if you wanted to, but that's kind of the neat thing about that. And you can kind of add a color overlay to it if you want, make it, different colors. You can change the opacity of the overlay, all that kind of neat stuff. And then another neat idea is, it doesn't work well with this image because there's a lot of there's a lot of sky in the background, so you can't tell, but you can use it to where it'll scroll with, so the image stays fixed in the background and the page kind of scrolls over it. So that's kind of cool. We'll switch that back. And so yeah, that's how you can add a title. You can do other things like, make it full width if you want a full width title. That looks kind of nice sometimes. I don't know why you would do that, but I guess you could. For a title page, you could, depending on what you're looking for. There's always different options. Again, we can go back in here. We can change the picture if we want with just a little edit button. And now this might work better for our fixed image. So if we look at it, see how the image kind of stays still as we scroll. So that's a cover image. Go back down here. We'll add another one. Let's see what's next. Gallery. So we can add a gallery, this is kind of a neat addition to the new editor. Just select all 5 of these photos, create new gallery, or insert gallery. Boom. And then we have 5 images. They're all ready to go. They're already set. You can click on each one. You can write a caption for each one if you want. But it automatically sets it out. So if you had 6, it would do 3 across here, 3 across the bottom. But since there's 5, it kind of equals the width out and everything. So that's kind of nice. You can change the amount of columns. So if you want to do 4 and 1, or if you wanted to do it like that, where it's just 2 columns, and you got one big image on the bottom, definitely can do that. Switch it back to 3. Cropped images, I imagine, is just going to change it to where, if you have a really tall image, it'll crop out a section of it so that it matches and fits into the gallery. I don't have that in this one, but and then you can link the images to media files or an attachment page. I don't know about that, but so that's how you do a gallery. Let's see what else we got. Common blocks, audio. So this is pretty straightforward. I did add an audio file in here. You can, if you'd like to do podcasts, or if you're just doing short audio clips or whatever, you can add this right in here. Just plays the audio right on your website, which is nice. You can hit it autoplay. I don't recommend that. People don't really like it when music just suddenly starts playing. And I think even a lot of browsers are kind of blocking this kind of functionality where you can't automatically play it. And then loop, this will just play it over and over, obviously. So that's the audio one. Let's see what else we got. Common blocks, audio. So file, this is kind of cool. So instead of adding our audio file here to play it, what we can do instead is, let's make sure I click the right one, pick that. And what that's going to do is add a little download button. We can change the name of it to soundtrack. There you go. And then you can even change the title of your button, download it or whatever. And then it automatically creates the URL to download the file. So they can download this MP3 off your website if you just wanted to let people download it. And then obviously you can center it if you want. I don't know why the button's not centering, but it was earlier. I'll have to figure that out later. Anyways, all right, let's see what else we got. Common blocks. Video is going to be pretty similar to the audio, except it adds a little video player. There are some neat additions over here on the side. You can autoplay this. I would suggest just doing it muted. That way when people scroll down, the video will start and they can see the video playing as they're on the screen. You can hit it to loop to where it'll start over again whenever it finishes. All right. So that's most of the common ones. I will go over and touch on some of these formatting ones because I think they're useful. Classic editor, we already talked about. The pull quote, we talked about. Pre-formatted, that's going to be just like your code. Slight difference in how it works. You can bold and italicize some of the text in here. The code, you can't. All that does is create a little box where you can put, basically you can copy and paste some code, and then people can copy and paste it off of your website, and it won't change the way the code looks when it gets posted to the website. Table, this may be useful for some of you. You can change how many rows, how many columns you want, and then you just hit list, and you can make a little table of whatever you might use it for, but you can make a little table on your website, and it might be useful. It's a little easy way to do that. Back to formatting, custom HTML. We can add custom HTML code, and that will get formatted onto the website. So instead of pasting it in here and seeing the HTML, here you paste it in, and it'll actually just do it. So if you found a website, if you copy the HTML off of another website, paste it in there, that section of it will look just like that section of the website. Layout elements. All right, so here we have columns. Columns are kind of neat. It basically adds two blocks side by side. So we can add a block here and a block there. And you just click this and you can hit any of the other ones you want. So if you wanted to add a heading block, and then you still got your other one below it, you can write your heading. You can write your paragraph. And then over here, what you could do is add in an image. We'll say this one, select. And there you go. And you got a little heading, you got a paragraph, and you got an image over here. So you got two columns. So that's kind of nice to have if you wanted. But if you click on, so if you're in here and you click on this one, you're going to change the text or the image heading, the image settings. Sorry. If you click over here, you get the heading settings. But if we get just this blue box highlighted, the big blue box that kind of covers both of them. So see how it shows columns up there in the top right corner of the block. We click that, then we can adjust how many columns we want. And I guess you can do 6 total if you wanted to. And it'll adjust the space down here on its own, as depending on how much content you put in there. So that's kind of a neat little thing that they added that I think is pretty useful. Here you can make it full width as well. If you hit that little button, that'll make the entire block the full width. It'll get rid of these white spaces on each side. So you may want to use that for something. We'll delete it for now because it's a little distracting. But that, I think, is a useful tool, is those columns. Do we already go out? Okay, we're in layout elements. All right. Button. This is just going to be add a button. So you can name your button whatever you want without an E. And spelled that wrong, but there you go. Hit apply. And then there's your button. And you can, I believe this one will center. There we go. So you can put your button in the middle. Formatting. We went over oh no, we're in layout elements. I forgot. More. So if you have a blog page and you don't want to show the entire blog post on your page, you want to have them click the little read more button and just give them the first paragraph. What you can do is let's see if we can. We'll just add it right here above this list, or right below the list. So we go to formatting. I keep going to formatting. Layout elements. And then we hit more. And that will basically add the little read more button right there. The next one down is similar but different. So say you wrote, now they hit the read more, and they wanted to see that. Now you can click this page break, and that will take them to another page to look at this second section of your blog post. So there's your page break, and here's your read more. They're just both under the layout settings or layout blocks, layout elements. Separator, that'll just add a line across, and a spacer. You can kind of create space between. I don't think it'll show anything Yeah, you can adjust the height of your spacer if you just wanted a little bit of white space there. All right, and then widgets. This stuff is going to be, yours is going to look different than mine. I mean, these will be there for the most part. You can add your short codes and things like that. But depending on what plugins you have installed, you'll probably have a whole list of widgets, possibly, just depending on how your website was built. Embeds. We're not going to go over all these, but these are pretty straightforward. If you wanted to embed your Facebook URL, you can put that right in there. It's pretty straightforward. So yeah, so I hope this answers some of you guys' questions on how to work with the Gutenberg editor, what some of the blocks do. I know I had people asking about the images, so I hope that helped out, where we can add an image, you can wrap the text around it. Just make sure that you put the image above the text that you want wrapping it. Makes it the easiest to get it added in there. And then as far as the classic editor, we went over some of that stuff. Rows and columns, that was what we did a minute ago with the little row, or the 3 columns or the 6 columns. Moving blocks, I guess I didn't go over that. I think I did in the first one. All you do is grab it right here. You can slide it up. It's hard to, well, you can move it above that one, which apparently is there. Oh, well, that was the image. So if we want to move it back, we just grab it, and it's gonna be hard to grab now. All we'll do is just hit undo. So the images, once they're in line, are kind of hard to grab. You can just maybe do this, and that would make it easier to move, and then put it back. So yeah, that's basically how we can use the Gutenberg editor. I encourage you guys just to go look at all the different blocks, see what they do. Every time you have one, make sure you look over here on the right and see what kind of settings it allows. This has hide the teaser before the more tag. So there's different settings for each one. If we go to the list, there's not much, but you do get these options up at the top. So I hope this helps you out. If you have any more questions, obviously you can always email us at support@fistbumpmedia.com or hit the little support tab in your dashboard. All right, take care, guys.